Hey there, welcome to AS IELTS Assistance. I'm Sakib. In this video, you're going to see a candidate who's going to probably score a band 8 for his performance in the IELTS speaking exam. Make sure you watch the video till the end because I'm going to analyze his score and provide tips on how you can achieve similar scores. For your practice, feel free to pause the video after every question and answer it by yourself and compare your answer with that of this candidate. So, let's start. Hello, I'm Sakib and I'm going to be your examiner for this portion of the IELTS exam. So, the IELTS speaking section contains 3 parts. In the first part, I'm going to ask you a few questions to get to know you better and some questions on a general topic. So, before we start, let me see your identification, please. Okay, here's your identification back. So, what's your full name?
My full name is Alif Ashraf.
And what should I call you?
You can just call me Alif.
Okay, Alif. So, do you live in a house or an apartment?
I actually live in an apartment.
Okay, can you explain it a bit? I mean, your apartment.
My apartment, well, basically, it's in this complex. There are 4 different buildings. I live in one of them, and well, my apartment consists of 3 bedrooms. And yeah.
Okay. Which is your most favorite part of your apartment?
It has to be my room because it's where I do most of my work. I study there. If I want to work on something, I work on it there, and obviously I rest there as well.
Okay. So, if you could change one thing of your home, then what would it be and why?
I would say it has to be the positioning of it. It's kind of in a very enclosed space with buildings all around. I think I would just change the position of it so that I could get more sunlight during the day.
Okay. And how long do you think you're gonna live in this home?
In my opinion, it has to be another couple of years at least.
Okay. So now let's talk about social media. So which social media websites do you use most often?
I'm mostly active on Facebook, Instagram, and Reddit.
Okay, and why?
It's because, well, Instagram is just for entertainment. Instagram and Facebook are mainly for entertainment, and Reddit as well. But
Okay.
sometimes I go through these sites for news. I like to read news as well.
And how much time do you spend on social media sites every day?
On average, I have to say it's around 3 to 4 hours.
Okay, that's quite a lot. And what kind of information about yourself you have put on the social media apps?
I don't really post much about myself on social media. I prefer to keep it private. I don't apart from very occasionally I post some pictures. Apart from that, I don't really post much.
And what informations have you posted there?
So far, just my date of birth and my education. That's pretty much it.
Okay. Is there anything you don't like about the social media?
I would have to say is that sometimes people share too much without knowing the consequences of social media. Because once they post something, it's there forever. Even if you delete it, it has been recorded. You can't do anything about it.
Okay, that's good. So that concludes the part 1. And in part 2, I'm going to give you a card and a paper and a pencil. You have 1 minute to prepare yourself, and you'll have to speak for 2 minutes on this topic. So here's your question.
Thank you.
And your time starts now. Okay, your time's up, and you can start speaking.
Well, something that I bought about a couple of years ago. It was television, an LED television, because it was a couple of years ago. I think 5-6 years ago. It was bought from a very popular store in our city. The main reason I bought it was because every household needs a television. It's for entertainment. It's not just for personal use. You can watch it with your family. You can use it with your family. You can watch movies or TV shows together, or you can watch news, sports, anything. It's so that a family can spend time together. It's really beneficial to us. Well, and I really liked it because I realized that after buying that particular television, I realized that our family started spending more time together. We sat together. We watched TV together, and I think it's an improvement. It's really helpful to spend quality time with your family.
Okay, would you like to add something more?
Well, no.
Okay, so now I'll move on to part three. In this part, I'm going to ask you a few questions on the topic of part two or something related to that. So I will ask you to give me the screen back. Okay, so let's start part three. Why do some people buy lots of things for their home?
Excuse me. I think it has to be because, well, they want their home to be appealing to others. When they invite people over, they want it to be appealing, and it also kind of makes their home look nicer.
Okay. And do you think it is very expensive to make a home look nice?
Without a doubt, it is very expensive. It's not easy at all because when you think about all the furniture you have to buy, or all the equipment, or all the decorations, it is very expensive. It sets you back a lot. And apart from that, you also need appliances. For example, you need air conditioners because of how hot it gets during the summer. So all in all, and then not just buying those things, then you have to pay for them, like the utilities monthly. So all in all, I would say it's quite expensive.
Okay. And why don't some people care about how their home looks?
I think I do respect those opinions. To them, maybe well, they don't really, as long as they have a roof over their head, as long as they have a place to sleep at night, a place to eat, I think it's enough for them. I guess that's why they don't really pay attention to decorating their homes much.
Okay. In what ways is living in a flat or apartment better than living in a house?
In more than one way, actually, because think about living in a house, for example. You have a yard, you have a very big place. You have to, like, for example, if it's a multi-story house, it's obviously bigger, it's harder to clean if you don't have someone to help you around. Yard work as well. You have to do it all on your own. So I think maintaining it is harder. And if you, for example, if you live in an apartment, you just have to take care of your own house. You can even hire someone to clean it. And as far if you have vehicles, you have places like you have an entire parking lot to store it. Like yes, I agree that you have a place to store it in a house as well. But if it's not planned accordingly, you might not be able to store it at all.
Okay. And do you think homes will look different in the future?
I think it will actually because think about the future right now. We've had like if you think about 30 years ago, no one would have thought about self-driving cars. We have those right now. So nowadays, basically, I think it's going to become more and more high tech. For example, it can follow voice command, or it can it's going to look different. Obviously, it will have different designs than the homes we see today.
Okay. And do you agree that the kinds of homes people prefer changes over time? I mean, as they get older?
Definitely. For example, a young person, perhaps in their 20s or 30s, maybe they'd like a house, with stairs, multi stories. But as they get older, their body condition starts to deteriorate. So do their physical fitness. So walking up those stairs might be difficult. So I'm pretty sure they would prefer an apartment rather than a house.
Okay, that concludes the test. And don't forget to take your identification with you. And you're going to get your score within 2 weeks with the other parts. Thank you for your time. Okay, now I'll try to analyze why Alif scored Band 8. The IELTS speaking examination is marked based on 4 aspects. First of all, it is fluency. Secondly, it is lexical resources or vocabulary. Then we have coherence and grammar. Let's look at it one by one. Was the candidate fluent? Well, I think he was. He spoke quite naturally and at a constant pace all throughout the conversation. His accent was close to the native speakers, and that made every single word he spoke quite clearly understandable. To increase fluency, what you guys can do is to watch more and more videos and practice it by yourself. You can also join some groups where people speak in English and increase your fluency by practice. Because only practice can make you more fluent. Next, let's come to lexical resources or vocabulary. Well, Alif used some uncommon words in the conversation, like to explain a cluster of buildings in part 1, he used the word complex. Then, in order to understand or in order to make me understand about the condition of his home, that it is surrounded by a lot of buildings, he used the word enclosed. In part 3, he also used words like appealing, utilities, and some idioms and phrases such as set you back or a roof over their head. If you use these sort of idioms and phrases and some uncommon words, then you will get good marks in this aspect of the test. To increase your lexical resources or vocabulary, what you can do is read English newspapers or read news from online news portals. They use uncommon words and make sure you look for the meaning of those words once you see them. In this way, you can learn how to use those words, and at the same time, you will learn a lot of new words. Now let's come to the third point, which is coherence. It is to judge whether you stick to the point of the question or you divert from it. In most of the cases, Aleph was to the point. He also used a lot of examples in part 3 to support his answers. Although in part 1 and part 2 he was struggling to find ideas for speaking, he did a good job, I would say. But in part 1 and part 2, his answers were a bit short. Make sure you use a lot of examples and make your answers a bit more elaborate. The examiner expects you to answer in 2 to 3 sentences at least. So, if you are finding it difficult to find new ideas, give an example of your idea and that would be enough to cover 3 to 4 sentences. Next, let's talk about his grammar. In case of grammar, 2 points are to be kept in mind. One is grammatical range and 2 is grammatical accuracy. As you can see, Alif used a lot of complex and compound sentences while talking, and he also linked ideas using linkers such as also, but, again, because. Make sure you use a lot of linkers to connect your ideas and to produce more and more complex and compound sentences to score well in the grammar section. Now, we'll talk about grammatical accuracy. I believe it is more important to be accurate than to have a wider range. And why am I saying that? Well, if you use simple sentences and do not feel comfortable using complex or compound sentences, then I would suggest you to stick to simple sentences. Because if you make mistakes while forming a complex and compound sentence, it kind of gives an idea to the examiner that you are weak in English. Well, using only simple sentences but in an accurate way would portray that you know what you're saying and you know the language well. So focus more on accuracy. And if you feel you are accurate, then only try to increase your grammatical range. So practice more and more, and you will surely reach the level of this candidate and score Band 8 in your speaking exam too. There is no alternative to good practice. So thanks for watching. If this video was helpful, make sure you like, share, and subscribe because we are going to be posting new videos soon again. Thank you.